Welcome to The Briefing, your weekly debrief of top news by the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. I'm Rafael Carranza.
And I'm Laura Grissoni.
This is day 2 of the Republican National Convention just wrapped. Again, a lot of information to talk about and for us to distill. The theme for today was about making America safe again, and naturally that went into going into the topic of crime and border security as well. That is something that we heard repeatedly throughout the night from several of the speakers that took the stage, Laura. They talked about a number of things, including plans to deport the migrants that had been allowed to enter the country under the Biden administration. He has vastly expanded his use of the humanitarian parole authority, allowing hundreds of thousands of people into the country. Republicans claim that they have not been vetted enough, and that as a result they are committing more crimes and hurting Americans. So that is something that they're advocating for, is returning those individuals back to their countries of origin if Trump is elected president. He's also talking about restoring a lot of the policies that Trump implemented as president, such as the Return to Mexico program, and of course one of the chants that we heard here very often, and I think kind of throws back to some of the previous presidential campaigns, the chant "Build the Wall." Build the halls here. You could kind of hear it all over the place, Laura. And then we also heard a lot about stories of crime, individual examples of crime committed by certain migrants that had been allowed into the country. So that is something that they kind of focused a lot during this topic. But we also heard from one key person from Arizona here, Kari Lake. She took the stage. What did she say, Laura?
That's right, Rafa. Kari Lake, of course, one of Arizona's highest profile politicians this election cycle. She's running for U.S. Senate. In the 2022 cycle, she unsuccessfully ran for governor. And indeed, she was one of those politicians whose speech, prompted chants to build a wall. She hit on the familiar themes of her Senate campaign, among them immigration, discredited claims of a stolen election. And we should remember there was a time when Kari Lake was at least rumored to be on the short list for Trump's vice presidential pick. Now, Trump threw cold water on those rumors pretty early on. Of course, he endorsed her in her Senate campaign, and he went on to say that she would make a great senator for the state of Arizona. But as we can tell, clearly she's still raising her national profile, clearly still in Trump's orbit with this, making a splash with a speech here in Milwaukee. And I would say the audience here in Milwaukee recognized her when her name was announced. The audience broke out into cheers and applause. She even got a standing ovation from certain quarters, including, of course, the Arizona delegation.
Now, one other topic that we heard pretty often during this night, or the second night of the Republican National Convention, though it's not a theme, we also heard a lot about voter integrity. Now, we expected that this will come up, repeatedly. It is something that Republicans have been talking about, but the way that they've discussed it, during the Republican National Convention stood out to me particularly. I think what stood out was we had a video from Trump himself. He did not take the stage. He is expected to deliver his acceptance speech on Thursday, but he had a video that was focused on the issue of voter integrity and really calling on Republicans to turn out, and what he said was to swamp the polls on Election Day. He talked about the need perhaps to go back to paper ballot voting, which could make it harder to kind of get those results a lot more quickly, but talked about the best way to overcome any sort of cheating allegations that he's claimed is to really swamp out and get there, to get to the polls as much as you can. And then something else that stood out to me that was also brought out is several of the speakers talked about allowing non-citizens in the U.S. to vote. That's something that they claimed pretty often that Democrats were trying to do, and really tried to expand their voting base by allowing non-citizens into the country. That, of course, just to fact check, is against the law currently, so that is not possible, but that is something that we also wanted to highlight, because it's something that we could see very, very often, or a message that could be pretty common as election season kind of wraps up. So lots to do still ahead. We're about halfway through it. Day 3 and day 4 coming up ahead. Again, day 4, we're expecting the big speech from Donald Trump.
Still plenty to come this week for Milwaukee.
For the latest, be sure to log on to azcentral.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again tomorrow.